If you're into CBT, make sure to check out some Quake add-ons.
Well said. Well said.
Make sure
And check out Lego Yoda.
if you're into crush a rock, my cock on a rock, I must. Have you seen that video?
Yeah, it's my main video.
If you're into CBT, play the fucking Spear of Destiny add-on map packs. That's some real fucking CBT in there. Anyway.
Right. Tangerine.
Tony, you know I'm a big fan of boomer shooters. I'm a big fan of the new boomer shooters, the throwback shooters, and also I'm a big fan of some old school shooters, like Doom and the such.
You mean actual boomers? Shooters for boomers?
Games that came out before I was born.
Yeah.
Which is strange. I think so. Doom is probably the first computer game I ever played. Which is kind of nuts to think about because I was 5 at the time.
Yeah, it wasn't that scary.
I feel like it should have been though, but it wasn't to me.
No, I don't know. I don't know. To me, it's not that scary.
Because I played like Half-Life 2 when I was about like 10 to 12, and I remember the Ravenholm chapters in Half-Life 2. I had to mute the game because I was too scared by them.
Right. And muting helps.
It does actually, yeah.
Does it?
Then you can't. Have you never tried that?
No. Well, I'm not. I like horror games though. So like, I wanted to.
I used to hate horror games, but I've become very used to them now.
Right.
To a point where I find them very boring. A lot of the time, the bad ones.
Yeah. But
anyway,
I just like the concepts of horror.
Anyway, what I was saying was, this is Tangerine, so I'm going to be rambling about random shit for a long time. I never played Quake before, ever. Not a single Quake game. No. Have you played Quake before?
No, I mean, okay, for me, Quake's the uninteresting version of Doom.
Okay.
Because like, there's nothing going for it for me that I care about, like from like what I've seen. So like, I've never looked into it.
Wait, so just I've played through the entirety of Quake now. I've played through all of its expansions. I've played through all of the official add-ons in the Night Dive port, which by the way is fucking fantastic. I cannot overstate what a great job Night Dive did with the Quake port. The game is so good now. Get Quake on Steam. It is like a modern day title. Right now, it is so good to play now, Quake. Especially
you just buy it and install it and play it.
Yeah.
Nice.
And if you want to play add-ons, they've officially supported a bunch of like really cool add-ons. You just load them straight from the game. You don't have to mod it or anything.
That's really cool.
And yeah, so I played all the add-ons that were available. I think one of them was awful. These dogs have been radicalized. That's a theme in boomer shooters. Yeah, so it seems this is going to be a theme in boomer shooters. If you have an aversion to dogs being shot, you may want to look away because it seems like every boomer shooter you're always shooting dogs. And
what's this aversion to shooting dogs? Like, they're clearly like.
Well, my joke is because there's dogs in Wolfenstein you shoot. I always say they've been radicalized because they're Nazi dogs.
Yeah.
These
are like demon dogs, aren't they?
Yeah, they're like hell dogs. I think every time I shoot a dog, I'm like, it's okay. He's been radicalized. He was a Nazi dog.
Genuinely, I find it weird that people are like, oh yeah, I'm getting triggered just shooting dogs, but like, oh, but shooting the humans? No, that's fine.
If it's skeletons or robots, it doesn't count. I mean, everyone knows that.
That's true. Well, the thing is though, I'm pro skeleton, so I get the field every time I shoot a skeleton.
So just to go into, do I like Quake? Yes, Quake is fucking sick.
So
Quake is so good. It holds up.
My question is then, what's its defining feature? Like, what about it is different or interesting, or
makes it good? I mean, like in terms of what it put on the map, like you want me to go into historically, or you want me to go in what it does today that is still interesting to try?
What is to you personally? Not necessarily. Sorry, I know. Like, because Quake has. Quake has the movement thing.
Yeah, movement in Quake is really good. I'm a big fan of games with sleek movement, and the movement in Quake. So I'm going to go into the historics because this is part of the reason I like it so much. Quake invented rocket jumping, for instance. There is several levels where you can go like way faster at the end by rocket jumping past like obstacles to a point where I started like speed running some of the Quake levels after I beat it, because I was like, oh, I can just rocket jump to this platform, and I beat the level in like a minute or 2 minutes. Like,
Okay.
and that was really fun for me. I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like historically, so if I'm going to go through like the 3 god tier id titles, you have Wolfenstein 3D, which essentially invented 3D games.
Yeah.
Or like the 3D FPS games. Like, it was the first 3D. Well, it was one of the first 3D games. Like, we're gonna get bogged down in
did it
semantics
in a way that made sense.
Yeah, it was the first like 3D. It was one of the first 3D FPS games. Doom was really important because it cemented itself as the definitive first-person shooter game. It had like it improved so much on Wolfenstein. Like, Doom, in my opinion, is an infinitely better game than Wolfenstein, and we'll get into that because I'm going to be talking about all 3 of these games. This is like a boomer shooter. So buckle in. This is probably going to be like over an hour long at this point, I think.
Doom, technically, the first like add in like multiple layers to like the y or to the height axis. Whereas like Wolfenstein doesn't really do that properly.
Wolfenstein, yeah, you never really realize it until someone points it out that you don't have a ceiling in that game. But Doom was huge because it completely ignited the custom mapping scene. I mean, there was custom maps for Wolfenstein, but Doom was so big. Like, if you just look at Doom mods these days, like, it's insane how impactful Doom was when it came to the modding and the custom map scene. And then Quake invented esports. Quake invented competitive online multiplayer. Like, Quake is so influential when it comes to multiplayer and esports. It's insane. Yeah, like, so cool. If you ask me, like, quickly to rank them, maybe I should save that for the end, but I'll just say, like, straight away, I think overall, if you were like, you can only play one of these 3 games, I would probably play Doom over Quake, even though I really love Quake.
Because to me, like, the theme of Doom is just really cool. Like, I just love the premise of Doom, whereas I don't get much out of Wolfenstein or Quake.
I think one of the big things with Quake is it reminds, in terms of like its atmosphere, it reminds me a lot of Thief. In terms of the game is genuinely terrifying to this day. Sometimes just like the creepy sounds and atmosphere. Like, Thief is just so dripped in atmosphere. Like, that game's genuinely terrifying. It's not as, intense as Thief, I would say, but it still was. There is a lot of times I'm like, damn, like, it is, genuinely really, really cool. I liked the enemy design in this game as well. I think I prefer the enemy design in Doom, but there are some interesting enemies, like the Shamblers one that I don't know if I probably have some footage of the Shambler, but if you've ever seen me play Quake when I was streaming it, or if you ever seen like footage of Quake, it's the giant Yeti monster with no eyes and a giant mouth, and it like shoots lightning bolts at you, and then it runs towards you and like claws the fuck out of you. That's like a terrifying monster. I think like all of the like horror, like demon stuff, like you can see so much of John Romero in that sort of stuff. Like, he was really good at making this sort of stuff in, like, because Wolfenstein was like, a World War game, right? Whereas, you could really see, John Romero going in with like all of the satanic like symbolism and lore and stuff like that in Doom and Quake. Quake exists in like dimensions as well, which actually could tie into like Doom's like news story if they decided to do like a modern day reboot of Quake. Having them exist in the same like world would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I could see that.
It's cool. It's really cool to see. Yeah, these guys just sort of so I'll come to describe some of the enemies. So the chainsaw guys are really, really cool because they kind of act in 2 ways depending on how you interact with them. So They shoot grenades at you from afar, which means you want to try and get close to them and try and hit them with a shotgun. But when you get too close, they pull out a chainsaw. So it's like a juggling match where you're like trying to keep like a certain amount of distance between them.
Yeah.
The zombies are really interesting because they're pretty weak. So they can die really quickly, but they can only be fully destroyed with explosives.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can kill them, but they'll keep coming back unless you blow them up, sort of thing.
Did Game of Thrones ever learn that?
Okay, don't mention that show.
The first 6 seasons was still good.
It talks about the Shambler. Oh, there's achievements in this version in the Night Dive port. You get an achievement for killing a Shambler with an axe, and I've got to say that's quite tough considering how tough the Shambler is. He's one of the most like tankiest units in the game.
Right.
The giant Yeti, the Shambler. This is my first time playing this footage. So I'll just quickly go into... So there's 3 expansions for... I think it's like... Sorry, there's the base game of Doom, and I think there's 2 expansions. I love this moment, but they're like... they show you, look, you can shoot a button, and then the platform coming down doesn't crush you, because it reveals the platform. And then later on, there's another platform coming down, and you're like, oh, I know this trick now, you can shoot the button. And then what happens is...
Fight trap.
No. I'll see if I can skip to it quickly. I did get lost a little bit on Quake, although I would say I got lost a lot less in Quake than I did Doom. I think
really? Okay.
One of the things I preferred to Quake over Doom was I think the level design to just push you towards the exit is a lot better in Quake. There's a lot less... wall humping is what I refer to it as, where you just have to run around just spamming the use key in all the walls.
Yeah.
I think Wolfenstein's the worst for this. I think Doom's pretty okay. It's nowhere near as bad as like Hexen or Heretic or something like that. And Quake's pretty good with this. There's a little bit of that stuff, but there's never like... In Wolfenstein, for example, there's literally a level that you cannot complete unless you open a secret wall, and that's a base level. Right. Like, for example, you would have to go around the level pushing every single wall to try and figure out which one is the secret wall to progress through a base level. So here we go. You push the button, and it's like, oh, there's a thing coming down on me. And it's like, well, there's not a button to press. What the fuck's going to happen? And then it opens up. So the game's just constantly fucking trolling. I love this sort of stuff. Like, I think like the guys over at IdTech, they have just the right amount of like trolling when it comes to like designing these things.
Well, like challenging, where it's and then keep on your toes.
Yeah. I heard people always said like the boss, or at least the first boss of Quake was absolutely awful, and as someone who's just as someone who's fought the boss now, I can agree. The boss of Quake, or at least the first boss, is absolute fucking awful. It's essentially like a guy in lava and he shoots at you, but the way you defeat him is you walk around in circles pressing buttons which pull down these like electro nodes thing, and then you push the button to zap him, and that's the boss fight. You just walk around in a circle 3 times. That's like the boss fight.
I mean, you still see those sort of bosses to this day, and it's just it's not a great.
There's secret levels in Quake. I think I found one of those accidentally, which is nice to see. I always appreciate like secret levels. Yeah. There's a lot of weapon variety, which I like and don't like. I think one of the things that's interesting is that Quake has like upgraded versions of guns, and you have both of them, but they don't repeat each other. They don't replace each other.
Right.
But it's almost, once you get the super shotgun, which I'm using here, which is like the upgrade of the normal shotgun, it's almost never correct to use the normal shotgun anymore. In the same way, as soon as you upgrade the nail gun to the super nail gun, it's almost never correct to use the normal nail gun over the super nail gun. So you kind of like, you have these slots for weapons that are kind of useless as soon as you get the upgrade for them, which I was like, I can kind of see like saving ammo, if kinda, with the other weapons, but not really. Yeah. I mean, so, I really love the grenade. I want to mention, I was playing Quake, and I know there's two explosive weapons. There's the grenade launcher and the rocket launcher. And you get the grenade launcher first, and I thought, okay, I'm going to get the grenade launcher, and I'm going to keep using it, and it's just going to be until I get the rocket launcher, and I'm going to just use the rocket launcher. I love the grenade launcher in Quake. It is, I think, the grenade launcher rocket launcher thing, because you balance ammo between the two weapons. They both take rockets, but the way they're designed is so good. Where there's a lot of times when you want to use the grenade launcher to attack enemies around corners or up high, whereas you don't want to, where you couldn't use the rocket launcher in that way. And then the rocket launcher has utility even because the rocket launcher can be used as a movement device, which I think must have. I got to think it was unintentional that they accidentally designed rocket jumping. I feel like I don't know for sure, but I feel like they kind of gone in and gone, we're going to make the rocket launcher so you can just propel yourself across levels. But when you it is fucking awesome.
I'm just wondering if the engine they added like a physics effect to it, right? And it's like and then someone realized you could then. I don't know, to me, it feels more serendipitous than intentional.
But I think I was like you when you were talking about the look of Quake, because I think the look of Quake could be off-putting to people going, well, what's interesting about this? It all just seems like beige and brown.
Yeah.
But I think I was similar when I saw the Boomer Shooter throwback H-Rot, because that's very much the Quake style of just brown, depressing, grey tones. Until I played H-Rot, and I was like, oh, I get it now. It's fucking sick, and it's fucking terrifying. When you have those hallways where you're not sure where the enemies are coming from, or it's very creepy, very hell-like, very dark sort of thing. I think it looks really sick, and I think once you get accustomed to the Quake style, I think it is really genuinely really really cool. I found myself really liking it because it is distinct. Because Doom's a lot more colourful than Quake, whereas Quake is very much more castles. Because you have random. Some of the enemy design is so random. Like one point you'll find a guy with a chainsaw and a grenade launcher on his hands, and then the next you're fighting a knight with a giant sword.
Well, I will say this: I like the enemy design. It's more the rest of it that I'm just not feeling. It doesn't do anything.
Well, Tony, that's great, because I'm going to move into one of the things that it's going to blow you away, because one of the things after Quake came out, they added a bunch of old add-ons, because Night Dive has a magic device that they use to make their game engines run in these old engines. And one of the things they did was they gave the Quake tools to Machine Games, the developers of the new Wolfenstein games. And this is one of the custom maps they made. Look at this.
Oh, wow. That's much better.
So this is running. This is running in the Kex Quake engine. So this is, for all intents and purposes, running on Quake. I was just blown away when I saw this. I was like, because I know what you were saying. Oh, it's all beige and grey, but holy shit! Look at some of the amazing stuff people have made. For the Quake engine.
This was like an industrial castle. Now this was much better.
So this is Dimensions of the Machine. So when I was talking about in the podcast, there was new add-ons made by Machine Games. Reading the add-ons list for Machine Games, I was so surprised how many of them actually originally worked on Quake mods before they started working on over at Machine Games.
Right. That's cool.
Because every Quake mod I read, I'm like, this Quake mod is from, this year. It is done by this guy. He was a very prolific Quake modder. He now works at Machine Games. And I'm like, that's fucking awesome. The guys who are making these really, really cool new Wolfenstein games were making, really awesome Quake mods back in the day. And it seems like, at least from, what I've seen from, people over, id and Machine Games and, the shoe guys over at Bethesda, it seems like they genuinely just love these games. There's so much passion there. I absolutely love because I'm also a massive fan of Arcane as well. So I love id Tech, I love Machine Games, I love Arcane. I'm just these are the sort they make the experiences I want to play. They make the old school boom shooters and immersive sims that I absolutely adore.
It sounds like there needs to be custom maps in newer games so people can start make modding and then become passionate developers in the future.
Well, they just released the modding tools for Cyberpunk. Do any of you going to be modding that?
There's been no mods before Cyberpunk before that point.
No. But yeah, so I played Dimensions of the Machine. Absolutely sick. I highly recommend playing all of the Quake add-ons. Honey's another really cool one. It's basically you go to this haunted cathedral, and there's a bunch of like dead ghosts, and you have to try and figure out what's going on. You go into this castle. It's like haunted by those zombies. Another thing that mod adds, which is pretty cool, is it adds the ability to kill zombies with an axe, which I think was a really nice idea. Because it doesn't make sense to waste so much explosive ammo on killing just random zombies, because they're really not that hard to kill, but it feels bad when you have to waste the explosive ammo on them. Sort of thing.
I mean, it looks finicky from like the clip I saw.
So I thought it was cool to add the ability to kill them with an axe. I thought that was a really good idea. There's a couple of custom guns in the expansions. Let me just look them up. It's been a while since I've played this, a couple of months. To make sure, because sometimes I'll play these games and I'll be talking about them like a couple of months or even like half a year after I've Oh, that's one of the Scourge of Armageddon has a Mjolnir. It has a hammer that deals a bunch of damage, and I was like, holy shit, this is where Doom Eternal got its hammer from. I'd never seen Mjolnir before in the original Quake, and if you've played the Doom Eternal The Ancient Gods Part 2, there's a hammer you get in that that's really fucking sick, and I'm like, oh, this is an homage to Quake. I had no idea when I was playing it. So that was really cool. You get like a laser gun, which is really cool in the expansions. You get like several custom rockets, so there's a proximity launcher for the grenade launcher, which is pretty cool. Turns it into like a proximity bomb. The rocket launcher, you get like multi-rockets in one of the expansions. I believe it's the Dissolution of Eternity. You get that in. Oh, you get a lava nail gun launcher in Dissolution of Eternity, which is really cool. And you get like a plasma gun, which is really, really cool. I think the only one I didn't enjoy, I believe it's called Underdark Overbright. I recommend playing all of them. I would say, those spider enemies, by the way, I think these are the most annoying enemies in Quake. If I had one complaint about an enemy in Quake, it would be these spider enemies. So what they do is they stand there, but they're really fucking tanky. But they fire off this like explosive purple ball, spiky ball. But the annoying thing about it is that it tracks you. So the best way to fight them is to wait for them to shoot at you and then run away and line of sight it. And I think like everything in Quake makes you want to go forwards, whereas that enemy makes you want to run away. Which I could see like it could be interesting in the same way like the purple slime or the prowler enemy in Doom Eternal exists, where it's like meant to slow you down to make you play in interesting ways. But I think like I hate that stuff where the game's trying to... When a game's so smooth and is designed around movement, whenever you have to slow down, I hate that stuff. Even if it is trying to make you play in an interesting way.
Yeah, but wouldn't it make more sense, if thinking about, like, in terms of, like, you want to always be moving, wouldn't an enemy that puts down lots of... Like, fires rockets on lots of places on the ground, so you have to, like, kind of, like... not just run around like a lunatic and actually, like, place where you're jumping. Wouldn't that make more sense?
Yeah. I'm going to show you something now, and then I'll talk about some other stuff. Tony, you're a fan of Lepin, aren't you?
I'm a fan of Lepin, yeah.
Have you seen Lepin Quake?
I have not seen Lepin Quake.
This is Block Quake. It is a mod that replaces all of the models with like Lego sprites. I'm going to turn the sound up here. Let me go back in the video. It even replaces the sounds, so the sound is like boing, boing.
That's great. I love the skeletons though. The
Have you seen the
fire is so
flames as
good.
well? The fire.
Yeah,
is so
the
good,
flame
yeah.
is so good.
Oh, something I want to mention. You select your difficulty before expansion by going through the gates. I played through them all on normal, and I think that was a good difficulty for me personally.
Okay. So
Yeah. So they've remade like all the ammo, the armor is like Lego pieces. It is so. Look at the
Oh my
enemies.
god, it's so good.
This
They
what is
should.
so.
Okay.
Look at the fucking dog models. They're so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. They need to make I would love like a
I'm
boom
gonna be
shoot, like a
honest with you
modern
as well.
Lego boom shooter.
I was playing through this and I was like, oh my god, the character clarity and the pickup clarity is so much better with this mod installed. Like it's so much easier to see like pickups and ammo and enemies and tell them apart with this mod installed. I was like, they did a really good job of making everything look distinctive and clear.
Yeah. I would love to see a Lego. I'm in my head, right? I'm seeing like a Lego world, like a dark Lego world with like these like brighter characters that you shoot, and then like Lego bricks come out as like red blood. Like it would be hilarious.
So yeah, this is a third party mod that I installed because you couldn't install this through the. This wasn't included with the base add-ons. But it's very easy to install. Basically, just you drag and drop a folder into your Quake folder, and it just works because all of the Night Dive set it up so any Quake mods that already exist, they just work with the new remastered version. Cool. Which if anyone's sitting here going, "This looks awesome," please just buy Quake on Steam or GOG or whatever the fuck. Like the remastered version by Night Dive is so good. I believe it's on Games Pass as well now. Microsoft re-added all of the boomer shooters back to Games Pass recently.
Okay.
Which is really cool. There's a secret area there if you want to get the super shotgun early on level 1. There you go.
I just realized the gun is made of like
Have you not seen the guns yet?
Cylinder studs.
They're made of Lepin. They're made of Lepin.
Well, some of them are like really obscure pieces, but this one's great because it's like normal pieces.
So
this was good.
Tony, I played so much Quake in a row that I played through all of the expansions. I played through all of the.
Look at that guy.
I played through all the add-ons. I played through. I played multiplayer. I played so much Quake. You know Tetris Effect, where you play so much Tetris and you start dreaming about Tetris.
Oh yeah.
I started dreaming about Quake. I was like legitimately getting like Tetris Effect. Which Tetris Effect is the official term. For when you play a video game so much that you start dreaming about it, sort of thing. But it's also they also made a Tetris game called Tetris Effect, which is like the weird sensory one that you could play in VR as well. Just to point that out, that it's also a game, but I'm talking about the Tetris Effect, the idea, not the game.
Right.
But yeah, so I played this. So this is something that you can play. I highly recommend playing this. It's really fucking cool. I love Quake mods. I love Doom mods. I think. Oh, these things are terrifying in Lego form. Look at these.
Oh my god! Yes, this really sounds as an actual Lego. Lego.
See if I can find
enemy,
any of the
Lego
other characters. See if I can just skip ahead to any of the other. Oh wait, do you see? Oh, the zombies are just skeletons.
Yeah, I like the zombies. The ghosts?
I'm just going to look for the ghosts for you quickly.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw them, but I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, here's one.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
They're just like Lego guys. I want to see the... I only feature the Shambler. I want to show you the Shambler, because I think it's one of the best designed enemies in the base game.
The Lepin Shambler.
Oh, this is not too unwatchable. Me skipping through all this stuff. Oh, here's a Shambler, I remember that. This is the Shambler. The Shambler's so good in block form.
Yeah, he's great.
You remember I was saying this guy is really hard to defeat. This is the Shambler. He's like a mini-boss almost a lot of the time. But then you'll be playing the fucking Underbright mod. The Underdark Overbright mod, which I believe is the one I'm talking about, where it's just... I call it the CBT add-on, because it's really fucking hard. And it's like... That add-on gives you no ammo, and then it'll come to a point where it's like, here's 3 Shamblers that you have to fight. And it's like, oh, come on, dude. Like, this is just taking the whiz. That one I thought was I didn't enjoy that one too much because I think it was just being too hard for no reason. It was just taking the whiz really. So I played another add-on, Tony. I made sure because I kept playing these add-ons. I was like, well, I've got to get footage. So here's something really interesting. This is Quake was ported to the Nintendo 64, so they added the Nintendo 64 version of Quake to the new Quake remaster. You could play through it because there's slight differences. One of the big differences is you don't select your difficulty through gates; you select it through a menu instead. And look at this. They made it look like it. They added like this CRT filter and stuff, so it looks like it's running on a Nintendo 64.
Oh my god! Okay.
I thought this was pretty cool.
Quite hard to remember it, but
I played this for a little bit. I was like, I don't know, like water's got a different texture effect as well. I believe that probably had to be toned down for the Nintendo 64.
It reminds me of the one from like
Oh, that's it. You see me constantly pressing tab. That's a habit of mine because tab is normally the auto map. There's no map in Quake. That's a difference. Right. So Doom has a map. It's not really a map. It's more like a graph in Doom. It's called an auto map, and it's like stick outlines of where you're supposed to be going.
Right.
I don't actually know if Wolfenstein has a map. I don't think it does. The thing is, when I played Wolfenstein, I played it with a source port, which I believe would have added a map. So I'm not 100% sure if it has it or not in the default version. One of the biggest things I got from playing Quake and then going and playing Wolfenstein was the fact that, man, the Wolfenstein version on Steam is nowhere near as good as the other versions. I think this is just like corrosive water in the original game. It looks more like acid in the 64 port. But yeah, like the Quake is a full remaster. Doom is like it has like add-on support and is like runs really well in like its own little engine, Doom engine, and then Wolfenstein's the worst, where it's just they slapped it into a DOSBox emulator and they've just sort of left it, so it doesn't have any of those like new widescreen features or higher resolutions and FPS and stuff you're going to get from like a full remaster like Quake. Yeah. So I just downloaded a custom engine. Next up we have, so I was really curious to try the multiplayer of Quake, and I will say, so I just played I just joined some random servers. You can play through Quake co-op through like the multiplayer, which I thought was really cool. I joined someone's random lobby, and then I think they left because I wasn't supposed to join their lobby, but I think they were trying to play with their friend, and I was like, oh, someone's playing Quake, I'm going to play with them, and then they just fucking left, and I was like, oh, okay. Quake Multiplayer is really fucking fun. So this is going to go into like the esports element, where Quake and the Quake sequels especially really, really ignited like the esports competitive multiplayer scene.
Yeah, I do remember that much from Quake.
It seems like a lot of the servers don't have like heavy populations unless other people are playing on them. I've found because I found this guy just walking around. I think there's bots. There's bot support on Quake, so they just have like bots running around for you to wait until somebody else joins. So this was like me joining a random server. I couldn't really get anyone to play in like, I think it was just like a normal game mode. I joined another server which was rockets only, and then quite a few other people joined. So I'll just skip ahead to the other map because that's when we had quite a few people, and you get to see like the true beauty and fun of Quake rocket only multiplayer. Oh, so this map here is the boss map from the first Quake, which I said was the bad boss, where it is just running around pushing buttons. But when you've got like probably like 6 or 7 people all running around with rockets shooting each other, it gets pretty fun. Which I was like,
it looks very, very hectic.
It is very hectic. And
Oh my god, I immediately died.
in this game mode as well, there's no self rocket damage like there is in the base game of Quake. So you can just start rocket
Right.
jumping around and shooting people with rockets midair and stuff like that. And this map's also really tiny, so you have to like very quickly spawn and try and shoot as many people as you can, sort of thing. But like if you have a couple of friends who have Quake, and I'm sure like a few people you know will just have Quake in their Steam, or they will have it goes cheap on Steam, just willing to buy the Quake remaster because I again 100% recommend it. You can get a couple of friends together. It would be very easy just to play a quick round of Quake with your friends, and it has crossplay as well. So this is I was playing with people on Steam, but also there was people on their Xbox, on their PlayStation. It has like full crossplay sort of thing. Actually, is Quake in PlayStation? I don't actually know. There's definitely crossplay with Switch and Xbox. But I don't know if Quake released on the PS5. It seems like it does exist.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. There must have been a possibility of people playing on. But this was like a really fun experience. So, because I tried just using because there is like a game finder where you just sit in a queue and it'll put you into a match that's available. And I found no matter when I tried that, there wasn't really anyone in that queue. So it is sort of there is a dedicated player base in the community browsers. So if you do want to play Quake Multiplayer, it's the original Quake, the recommendation is just look in the community browser and see if there's a lobby with people playing, and if there's not, maybe just sit in one and just kill bots until you get a bunch of people to join, like I did. Like, because when people see other people are playing Quake, they're much more likely to jump in and play with you. So if you've got a couple of friends, you could just hop into somebody's server, and then I reckon a bunch of other people will join. Where's that footage of Quake? I had more footage of Quake Multiplayer. Did I not? Did I not record it?
Where I have a question. Where's Lepin Quake?
Sorry?
Lepin Quake Multiplayer?
I don't actually know if you're allowed to use custom models in multiplayer.
I guess I think you said it cheating if like make it easier to see.
I turned them off before I played this. I'm not sure like if you're allowed to do that or not, or whether they really care. I genuinely don't know. Anyway, because the one thing we talked about in the podcast, maybe I didn't record footage of it, I just played it. At QuakeCon, they announced, because they're still making stuff for the Quake port, which is really cool to see. Because one of the first places that Capture the Flag ever was, where the 3-wave Capture the Flag, was in Quake Multiplayer. Like, Quake Multiplayer kind of pioneered Capture the Flag. It was one of the first games to capture the flag, like 3-wave, so that's really, really cool. And there was a few more. I saw there's a lot more people playing then because it was QuakeCon, and they just released the new content, so it was really easy to find a match then when I was playing. But playing the Capture the Flag was really cool. So what it does is it's Capture the Flag, but your axe becomes a grapple hook, which is really, really cool to play.
Yeah, okay.
So I was like going in, grabbing the flag, grapple hooking out.
Yeah.
All that stuff like that. Really, really cool.
So just cause Quake.
And then I was like, well, I've played Quake. Why don't I play the new Quake multiplayer game? Let's try Quake Champions. I also played Quake Champions because I was watching QuakeCon and they were doing like a competitive esports thing for Quake Champions. And I've never tried Quake Champions, but I really loved Quake Multiplayer when I played it on the Quake remaster. I was like, why don't I give, if you saw my skin there, I'm using, they made this skin where you could look like the OG Quake guy from like the original Quake, which I was like, oh, that's really cool. There's also, because like, this is almost like the Smash Bros for id Tech. Because there's different characters with different abilities. Because I'm playing as Quake Guy, and Quake Guy has his own unique abilities. Which I was like, I'm not really that much into the abilities thing. I'd much prefer it just to be like a shooter thing, like more like the original Quake. But some of the characters you can be like BJ Blazkowicz from Wolfenstein, or you can be the Doomslayer from Doom.
The expanded.
Oh, I was bunny hopping and I accidentally jumped off the map.
So the expanded. I don't know what you'd call it. Just Boomisher universe.
The Boomisher universe. Yeah, there's already crossovers in Quake Champions. But from this footage, I was really bad at Quake Champions, but I actually got to a point where I was okay-ish. I would say there's much more skill gap in this game, it seemed like, from when I was playing it, between like good players and bad players. There were people I was playing against that I was like, oh, they just kept killing me over and over again, but it's also like... This is so much more complicated than Quake. Like, I liked how simple Quake Multiplayer was, whereas this is a bit more complicated. But I did find myself keep playing this, and I was like, it was really fun. Because there's a couple of weapons in here that I'd never used before because they're in the later Quake games. So, for example, the railgun doesn't exist in the original Quake. That was like more of a maybe like Quake 2, Quake 3 sort of thing. I'm not sure when that came up. That's in the later Quake games. The other guns. I think every other gun's kind of like a normal Quake gun though. I immediately like fell in love with the railgun as soon as I started using it though. It's a really cool gun, but yeah. I think Quake Champions is free to play now. So if you're looking at this like, oh, this could be kind of fun. There's people who play Quake Champions and you can just play it for free on Steam. And like, I think the way it works, you buy characters. That's how they do it, or you can buy skins, sort of thing.
Yeah, but not like abilities. Or...
I was just playing as the default character, and I was just playing as Quake guy, and it seemed fine. Like there was like a free rotation of. I think there was more characters unlocked because it was QuakeCon as well when I was playing. But I only played as the. Also, QuakeCon was going on at the time, so maybe there was more people playing when I was playing. Actually, thinking about it.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I would assume so.
Yeah. But definitely, like, because I think the only other, like, kind of old school boomer shootery kind of competitive multiplayer game I played before was Diabotical, which I don't know if I've ever talked about it before, but it was like an Epic exclusive. It was like Quake style weapons, like the Tesla gun and the railgun and stuff like that, and rocket launchers and stuff. But it was like you're all robots.
For PG-13,
yeah.
No blood.
Kill this AFK guy. Oh, I was typing. I almost got him. Yeah, I would say I actually kind of recommend Quake Champions. If you're not confident, you're like, oh, I don't want to go against like. Because I accidentally queued against like random real players. I didn't mean to, but one thing you can do, because I was just trying to get to practice mode to try and figure out the controls. One thing you can do is there's like, you can play versus AI, and you can play with other players versus AI. So you can have co-op versus AI. So you can just practice against bots basically. And the bots are pretty decent. Like they're not too dumb AI. So okay. I think if you're worried about like getting into this, like. Just practicing against bots could be fun. But I think I kind of recommend Quake Champions. If you're like me and you're into like those sort of more class-based shooters with that old school vibe, like it sort of has like that TF2 element almost to it with like the class-based stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is it's pretty fun. Like I found myself just wanting to put this on every now and then, just put on some Quake. Get my nuts quaking.
Yeah, that's good.
If you haven't, you need to type nuts quaking into YouTube. If you haven't seen it, trust me. When you fire this game up, your nuts are gonna start quaking, buddy. Your nuts are gonna start fucking quaking.
It's it's a recommendation of the game, but you're not gonna get anywhere else.
Well, he's not even talking about Quake in the video. He just says nuts quaking. But
what do you think about his Quake?
All I think about is Quake when I see that video. I think about my nuts quaking when I'm playing Quake. So yeah, I can't recommend Quake enough. And if you're into competitive multiplayer, give Quake Champions a chance. It's free. Let's move on to the next game. Next up, we have Wolfenstein, the original Wolfenstein. And I have to say, these, don't worry, these are Nazi dogs. They've been radicalized. Yeah, I gotta say, going back and playing Wolfenstein now, like, I played this as a kid. I loved Wolfenstein as a kid. Going back and playing it now, Wolfenstein has not aged nearly as well as Doom or Quake.
No, definitely not.
The level design of Wolfenstein is that sometimes, I would say, even maze-like and pretty bad.
Yeah. Also, like, I feel like it's like it's not it's not an immersive experience. Let's say that, like, it's not. It's just off, right? The colors are off.
Yeah.
But I guess it's like one of the. I mean, it makes sense. It's like one of the first games.
I started learning German by playing this because some of the enemies that when they die, they go "My Leben," which means my life in German. Fun fact: Liebe means love, and then Leben means life.
Yeah, makes sense.
So yeah, if you want to learn German, play some Wolfenstein 3D.
I mean,
is Wolfenstein 3D banned in Germany? That's an interesting question.
I think it might have been a bit, not anymore.
I gotta be honest with you, as you go further into the game, the pictures of Hitler become much more detailed. I'm not joking. It starts off with just like normal Nazi flags, and then it goes into like this pictures of Hitler, and then you have like full fucking mosaic windows, pictures of like Hitler. One thing you'll notice is, so this auto map thing, I believe, is part of the port. So Wolfenstein, I really wish it would at least give Wolfenstein the Doom treatment, where they take it out of being, you know, a DOS box launch.
Yeah.
And make it just...
What is this supposed to be?
What do you mean?
Oh, those are the walls and... Okay, right.
I'll just look it up. Does Wolfenstein 3D have a map? Let me have a look. The map... Okay, so it is playable in various source ports. No, okay, yeah. So the original Wolfenstein does not have a map, and I gotta say, Wolfenstein, and especially mission packs for Spear of Destiny. I don't know if you even know about Spear of Destiny, the prequel to Wolfenstein 3D.
I did not know about this. So.
The mission pack expansions for Wolfenstein, Spear of Destiny, are unplayable without a map. I would not recommend. Right. So the one I used was, I got the WAD file from Steam. I downloaded it and I slapped it straight into EC Wolf. Fun fact. There is another game on Steam. I'm going to look it up now. It's called Super Noah's Ark. And it's essentially... it's a complete copy of Doom. But made as if you're like shooting animals on an ark, so they could get it on the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, why the hell would you do that?
Because there was a rumor for a long time that id Software wanted Doom on the Nintendo system, because back then consoles were more powerful than PCs, especially you know, pre dedicated graphics games, when you had like all these different software rendering and dedicated graphics card vendors.
Yeah, it was a different
there was a rumor that there was a rumor that id gave the code of Doom to this guy, so he could just essentially sneak it onto it, but it made it look like it was Noah's Ark sort of thing. Which you can now get on Steam. There's Super 3D Noah's Ark, which he's like remastered on Steam sort of thing. The reason I bring this up is because the developer of that game on Steam developed EC Wolf, the source port I'm playing on, which I'm like, oh, that's a really cool connection there. So he's also works on another boomer shooter that's like an old school game on Steam. The knife is useless. You'll never use it.
Like,
okay, so one of the things I hate. So let's go into the good points about Wolfenstein first. I love the well, I was going to say I love the aesthetics. I don't love Nazis. I love the.
I'm a big fan of the Nazi.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the enemy. I really love like fighting like Mecha Hitler and you know, Hansel and Gretel and stuff like that. I think the enemies look funny, in like a comedic way, sort of thing. It's very simplistic, the enemies. There is the grunt, which walks around. There's the blue guy who is an SMG, and then there's the white guy with a pistol who will just shred you from across the map if you don't kill him very quickly. And then every single map in Wolfenstein ends with a boss fight, which is usually like a big guy with a machine gun or rocket launchers in the later levels. And essentially, the gameplay of the boss fights is he shoots, you hide around a corner, and then you pull out and just empty your ammo, and then you wait until he shoots, and you hide around a corner, and then you empty your ammo. It's not very interesting, is what I'm saying. It's not aged that well compared to like.
No.
I mean, the boss fights in Dooms can be like you're kind of just dumping ammo into a big enemy, but the thing about Doom is it has different weapons, and Wolfenstein has different weapons, but the different weapons are there's the pistol, there's the SMG, and there's the machine gun, and they all share the same ammo type. So there's one ammo type, and then it's all shared by the same thing. So the main thing you're doing to get through a Wolfenstein level is you're trying to find the elevator. And usually, in the way of getting into the elevator, instead of collecting key cards like you would in Doom, you collect keys, which opens. There's like a gold key, and then there's like a copper key or whatever, right? And then there's ammo clips. So there's one ammo clip, which is the ammo for every single gun you pick up. So you'll start with a pistol, and then you'll find an SMG, and then you'll find a chain gun, and sometimes you'll want to like use the SMG instead of the chain gun to preserve ammo. If it's a level with, you know, lots of ammo, then you'll probably just use the chain gun all the time. Also, the soundtrack of Doom is sick. Another thing about specific, some of the soundtrack for Doom is really, really cool. Another thing that hasn't aged well, and they should definitely fix this in like an updated version. I would love to see a Quake level port of Wolf 3D, but obviously that's not always financially feasible. I would like to see it brought up to at least the level of the Doom port, where because a lot of the audio in the game is super bit crushed and like low quality, and it doesn't sound good. Like you open a door and it'll be like crackly audio, and it's like it's almost like hurts your ears almost when you do it sometimes.
I guess
if you know what I'm saying.
In a way, that might be like a lot of like that might be the actual experience of like the game back in the day with like the sounds of games and time depending on how good your sound card was.
Oh, here's something I forgot to do originally. I forgot to save, so I played like 3 levels of this, and then I had to like play the entire thing again because I forgot to save. That's another thing you need to remember. You have to save the game.
No auto saves.
There's no auto save. That's a very boomer shooter thing. No, like almost no boomer shooters had auto saves in them.
I just find it weird. Like you put the effort in to have a save feature, but why not just have like points where you call that function? It just
there's no. I can't remember if this has a quick save either.
Okay. You just save at the end of the level.
Yeah, no, you can save anywhere, but you have to pause the game and save rather than pressing a button.
Yeah.
I like how quickly enemies die in this game. That was one of the things I wanted to say about Quake is enemies are way tankier in Quake compared to Doom or Wolfenstein, especially compared to Wolfenstein. You melt through enemies in Wolfenstein, which I really liked about Wolfenstein was enemies die fast. It's all about just killing loads of enemies very quickly.
Well, they're just humans. They should die fast, right?
Yeah. Which I think Doom had that like nice balance between enemies die quickly and you just keep rampaging, but there's not like you don't just kill them immediately sort of thing. Whereas Quake's very much you've got to keep cycling through all your weapons and you have to like chip down a lot of the big enemies. They die very slowly sort of thing.
I guess they're all designed a little bit differently, I suppose. But yeah, I think. I mean, still looking at this, like compared to like Quake, Wolfenstein, Doom, I think I still like the look of Doom. I do understand like Wolfenstein, sorry, Quake has like the movement and stuff.
Yeah, I think it'll be different if you. I think if you play Quake, you can kind of take in the atmosphere a bit more. Because I've experienced myself with H-Rot, where I was like, "Oh, I get it now," sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't get much out of just that atmosphere with like no color or anything though. Like I do need like more to it than that. Like the stuff like the more modern maps they did. Like that would look great.
Yeah. Because I had this on my wheel. I had like a bunch of old boomer shooter games on my wheel that I was spinning, and I just typed Wolfenstein. I was like, I wasn't sure if I was going to play one of the new Wolfenstein games, which I hadn't played, or I was going to play the old original Wolfenstein 3D from the 90s. But I decided in the end just to play the original because I just played Quake, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to play some more, old school boomer shooters sort of thing. So if you're interested in playing the original Wolfenstein 3D, I would say it's definitely playable still to this day. The original Wolfenstein campaign, but make sure you get E-Wolf, the source port of it. I think that's a good one to use. There'll be, if you go to the Wolfenstein Community Hub on Steam, there should be a guide on how to install it if you get confused. I love the Steam forums. There's two places I go when I'm like looking to install a game. I go to the PC Gaming Wiki and I go to the Steam forums. They're so useful.
Yeah, very useful. Yeah,
because I go to the PC Gaming Wiki and I'm like, oh, is there any like patches or mods that I should install to help the game run or get it running and that sort of stuff? And then I go to the Steam forums like, is there any like way I should play this? Is there like a certain DLC I should turn on or off or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good hub of knowledge.
Agree to agree. Do I have any? Oh, I have Spear of Destiny footage. There's no one to Spear of Destiny. Okay. Spear of Destiny is weird. So they it's a prequel to Wolfenstein because Wolfenstein, you're like infiltrating. The Nazis are looking for an artifact, and you find the Spear of Destiny. Spoiler alert. The Spear of Destiny becomes really, like, Doomish at the end. Where it, like, teleports you and you start, like, fighting, like, ghost things. It becomes very, like, Doomish, spiritual sort of thing.
Hitler starts summoning demons.
All I'm saying, Tony, as someone who's played Doom, Quake, and Wolfenstein, they could definitely all exist in the same universe. We need the ultimate crossover game where Quake, Doom, and... Wolfenstein crossover in a like a single player boomer shooter.
Oh, okay. Right.
So for Spear of Destiny, they changed up quite a lot of the color palettes because they had like more memory and they were better at the rendering techniques. You can see the walls are a lot more detailed.
Yeah.
The color palettes get completely fucking changed in Mission Pack 2. For Spear of Destiny, but I honestly don't recommend it. I told you the pictures of Hitler get more and more detailed, Tony. I wasn't joking.
How many of the same picture of Hitler do you need in one room? I'm just gonna ask.
I think there's about 4 or 5 different pictures of Hitler in the Wolfenstein games.
Yeah.
There's so many like great tracks in this. In the music of a lot of those tracks of Wolfenstein are bangers. I need to add them. I've been making a playlist of just video game music. Like I've got Doom E1 M1 at Doom's Gate, which is really confusing because when they redid Doom again and called it Doom 2016, or just Doom again, they also made another game. They also made another song at Doom's Gate. So there's 2 songs called At Doom's Gate, as well as there being 2 Dooms with the exact same name. Although they did recently change Ultimate Doom to Doom 1993 now. Even they've gone to naming it after the year to stop confusing people.
Well, yeah, but basically, don't do soft reboots. Just have another name after it. Like, just accept that you're different. Please.
I don't know if this is a curiosity of the source port, but one thing I found was this is me walking. Pressing the sprint button makes you go insanely fast. I was like, I was walking all the time because sprinting. Wait until I'll show you sprinting. Maybe if I need to get across the map quick. This is sprinting speed. It is so fast.
That I thought was that. Wait, sorry, hang on. Are those swastikas like shrub swastikas?
Swastikas are like reefs, I guess.
Yeah, that's interesting.
There's some guy over at IdTech, his whole job was just, dude, how many times can you remake a swastika and pictures of Hitler?
Oh, I've got you covered.
Yeah, that guy. I think it's okay because you're killing the Nazis. I think that's what makes it okay.
Is there a game play Nazis? Like outside of multiplayer?
I don't think so, to be honest. Yeah,
No.
I don't think it would be allowed, sort of thing.
I don't think you don't even get that far. Is that why?
I'll just go into like
you want to do.
The one thing I should have mentioned, as like a lot of boom shooters, you have like a kill count, so you can. At the end of Wolf and Quake, you get like points for killing all the enemies. In Quake, in Wolf, you get points for the speed runs. Every level has like a set amount of time that it has to speed run it to get the speed run points, and then every single level on Wolfenstein has treasure on it, so you get points for collecting all of the treasure as well. Right. So there's like replayability in collecting all the treasure or killing all the enemies and stuff like that. I just went about trying to complete the levels as quickly as possible because as I kept playing the game more and more, the quality gets less and less. It's essentially like Spirit of Destiny, I think is probably worth playing if you have the auto map, like you have the EC Wolf source port. The mission packs, so I was looking up the mission packs on the community hubs because I wanted to see what people said about them. And basically someone said, do not play the mission packs. They are fucking awful. And I was like, you know what? How bad could it really be? And after reading what they said and playing, I gotta say, the guy was spot on. Do not play the mission packs for Spirit of Destiny. What's
the issue?
They're all labyrinths. They're all massive fucking labyrinths.
Okay.
They are so confusing. They make no sense. It's just a big waste of fucking time. They were heavily criticized at the time for being like that. And the mission packs are essentially fan mods that were made around the time. So they're not even made by like id themselves, sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, no, that sounds awful.
Yeah. My Leben!
I do think, this gameplay seems very samey, like every level. Like very similar concepts.
So I'll show you Mission Pack 2, or the brief footage I have of it. I have the Wolfenstein main menu theme like ingrained in my head now, because I've listened to it so much. Oh, so the Nazi dogs are now blue, Tony, in the mission. For some reason they made everything blue in Mission Pack 2.
Yeah, why?
This is the start of the level.
Different.
The start of the level, they give you no ammo.
Guns blue.
And yeah. Also, the Nazi uniforms are different as well. The doors are different. What? The Nazis say different things as well.
Maybe they're not Nazis?
Alarm! I think they're either saying alarm or hello or hello or alarm. I can't tell. I feel like they'd be saying alarm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't speak the language.
Yeah. It's interesting to see the different design. Like, if you're curious, have a look at the different designs. Do not play Mission Pack 2 in Spirit of Destiny. It is a waste. Oh, more Nazi designs, Tony?
Are the guns blue? I don't understand the blue.
Yeah, they just...
Like, the boots are blue, the guns are blue.
Yeah, everything's kind of blue. I have a blue house, and it is blue too.
It just doesn't look intentional unless something's gone horribly wrong.
I think whatever happened with Mission Pack 2 for Spirit of Destiny, it definitely did go wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, okay. Not recommended.
No, I don't recommend Mission Pet 2. I would say Wolf 3 with EC Wolf, definitely play. It's a bit of fun. Spirit of Destiny is interesting, especially the end of Spirit of Destiny, when it becomes like... It's like essentially you pick up the Spirit of Destiny and then it summons like a bunch of monsters and it's like super confusing and you kill them. I think you fight like a... I'm trying to remember, do you fight like a demon or something? And then the game ends? It's like... It's very like... It ends very like Doomish, Spirit of Destiny.
Yeah.
And I think like it would be really interesting to see like in the same way they've taken the old Wolfenstein games and made the new ones with machine games, a new Spirit of Destiny game would be really interesting to see, where you like cross over that Doom lore with like the Wolfenstein lore. That would be really cool to see.
Yeah, because like Wolfenstein stuff is like, they're summoning and like doing crazy like magic science sort of stuff to like try and win the war. It's like be really cool. Okay, what I'm thinking is like you have like a Nazi like scientist trying to like to a town, and you just had Doom guy coming to punch him to death. That's what I want to see.
Tony, I think I've showed this on the podcast before. Ray Trace Doom. Holy shit, does this look good? I love Doom so much. I got to talk about the id trilogy. I have to talk about Doom quickly. So I put it on this podcast before, but I'll go back into it now. I saw the Doom ray tracing mod, and I was really curious to try it. So I was like, oh, I will just install it and record some footage, and I'll talk about it, right? I'll just check it out and see what it's like.
Yeah.
I was going to sit down and play it for 5 minutes. I sat down and I played the entirety of Doom.
Oh, the blood looks so good.
It is so much fun, especially with the quality of life of added ray tracing to Doom. The guy who made this is a fucking legend. It is so cool. You can even run DLSS as well, because I don't know if you know this, but even running Doom with ray tracing is really fucking heavy. I don't know if you also know this, that Quake 2 is one of the heaviest... Quake 2 RTX is one of the heaviest like RTX games.
Because they just went ham with it, because it's like, oh, well, the rest of the game's not like taxing it, because let's just give it like all the ray tracing. I always find this so weird though. Like you're just like shooting. You never
like it. You never. Well, at least in the original Doom box, this is this is running on GZ Doom.
Those skulls, the skulls.
So I have mouse acceleration. I have mouse. Turning on the gun, right? So I can look up and down and aim with the gun. There's so much stuff in Doom that you don't like. You think is in games now, so you go, "Oh, this must have been in the original Doom," and you go back and play it, and it's like it's not there, and it's like, "What the hell?" Like the original Doom, you didn't aim. You basically keyboard turn to turn. And then you would, if an enemy was above you, the Doom guy would like auto aim and shoot like above them. You can't jump in Doom 1. At least in Doom 1, there's no jumping.
My understanding of all of that is kind of a limitation of the engine. Is like they could add stuff to like make like things that would actually be like physically on top, but then like having it aim and do stuff was like a limitation of the engine. Oh my god, this is a seizure warning.
Turn your HDR up.
Yeah.
Turn your OLED up to 1 million peak brightness so you can get all of this.
Yeah, I haven't got HDR on, but my monitor does get bright, so.
Right.
Oh my god,
I just love it.
Bright.
I love this.
Oh my god.
So we had that recent Voxel Doom project that came out, and initially when I saw it, I was like, this looks so strange to me, like Uncanny Valley. Because I'm so used to seeing the 2D sprites of Doom when they were turning around and showing the 3D version of them, it looked really weird to me. As someone who's so used to the 2D sprites.
Never seen before.
The thing is, I don't know if you know this, but the 2D sprites of Doom, they have different... They change. The sprite changes based on where you're looking at it from.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at behind, like the imp, it shows you a different sprite to give that idea of depth to the character.
Yeah, it's actually quite clever considering the limitations they have.
Yeah. But after I played like Ray Trace Doom, I was like, there's no way I can go back to playing non-Ray Trace Doom, even though the Voxel one does look cool. But then I saw a video on YouTube where they had ray traced voxel Doom, and I was like,
oh my god,
okay, one, this looks amazing. How do I play this? But I'm not sure if it was like a proof of concept.
Yeah. But surely, okay. I don't know how this would work, but surely, like you could mod the game to be like you replace the enemies with models and then add. I guess what the textures required for ray tracing to work.
Someone posted a video called Voxel Doom plus ray tracing 4K 60 FPS, and the gun model definitely looks strange to me. Like it was like almost like a concept sort of thing. I can't tell if it was actually running or. So he doesn't give a link to download it or anything.
Right.
I can't tell if it was like a proof of concept or. But I don't know if people at home don't know this. Like, it is insanely hard to run like Doom with ray tracing, or like the Quake 2 RTX is very demanding for ray tracing. So
yeah.
Even like voxel Doom can be kind of taxing. So the idea of running ray traced voxel Doom would be so intensive on your like GPU using like the hardware rendering. I'm thinking if we're gonna be, everyone's like, I'm gonna get a RTX 4090 so I can play Cyberpunk on like Psycho mode.
Oh
and stuff.
yeah.
I'm like, I need an RTX 4090 so I can play voxel Doom with ray tracing. That's what I need it for.
It's definitely, yeah. You're gonna need it, I think. Good luck.
But I've never actually played the Steam version of Doom 1 or Doom 2 because I just download Doom on Steam and then I take the WAD and then I put it into GZ Doom and I'll play Ray Trace Doom or I'll probably play Voxel Doom at some point. And then Doom 2, I've never played it on Steam because I just took the WAD and I was playing the Golden Souls, which is a Doom mod that turns into a platformer, like a Super Mario platformer, essentially.
Oh, okay.
Which is another cool, like, Doom mod.
Look at that. Look at those lines. That's beautiful.
But yeah, I think Doom is my favorite id game, and it is sick. I absolutely adore Doom to this day. There's maybe a nostalgia factor to it. I mean, at some of the Doom levels, I would say, are a lot more confusing than Quake levels. Even there were some Quake levels I got confused with. Wolfenstein is an absolute confusing mess, especially the mission packs.
Yeah.
It's not Hexen level where you have to push 7 buttons across the map in order to complete it, but you know, sometimes you can get a little bit lost. I don't know if you noticed, but they added the flashlight, which is not an original Doom thing, but they were like,
oh right,
it shows off like the shadows. Yeah, because there's rooms
shadows
that are very dark, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's move on to our. So that's Tangerine. That's the Tangerine id Tech triple extravaganza. The triple extravaganza. But there was one more boomer shoot I played, which is a new school boomer shoot, which I've talked about in the past during a Tangerine, but I'm going to be talking about in Tangerine some of the games that I played demos of, but I've now played the full version of them and what my thoughts on them. So we're going to be talking about I've come past it, I think. Fashion Police Squad. Here it is. So this is a later level which you won't have seen footage for because I made sure to grab a level that I hadn't played before, sort of thing, to show more footage of.
Yeah.
This is the full game release, and I've got to say, Tony, when we played the demo and we saw like how many like different enemies there were and what weapons they were countered by, we were like, surely they can't add more weapons and more ways, and more enemies in different fashion crimes to counter them. But they did. There is so much more like weapon variety and enemy variety in this compared to the demo. I'm like, holy shit, they actually did it.
Yeah, it's amazing, and yeah, I think it was. I don't know how far into the game it was, but the boss that I saw and like the new enemy just before that boss was like some of my favorite stuff I saw.
The first boss was the Hugo boss. He was in the demo.
Hugo Boss,
yes, the CEO.
Boss.
And then there's the new second boss, which is basically like a tech fight, which takes you into a bunch of like there's like Tron levels, and then there's even a level which is straight up just like a Wolfenstein 3D level, which I was like, oh, it's really cool that I'm playing this after playing Wolfenstein 3D. It's like, as much as Fashion Police Squad, or FPS, as you may not have noticed, it's called FPS. As much as FPS is a meme, it is also such a great love letter to retro shooters. Just in its design, and its homages to those original shooters. Like, this game, although it is quite short, I'd say it's about 4 or 5 hours long. Yeah. At least playing on the difficult, I played on the second highest difficulty, which I think was fine. Apart from the later levels, I think were a bit too hard. But I've been reading the patch notes, and apparently he's addressed some of the issues with the later levels. So initially I thought the Karens were farting, but I read the patch notes. Apparently they're pepper spraying you. I didn't realize this until I read because they just have this gas cloud that comes out of them, and I was like, oh, they're farting. But they're actually shooting you with pepper spray is what the Karens are doing. Because another complaint I had was so the Karens shoot gas or pepper spray, as I've now learned, and they these clouds of pepper spray, and there's a fire enemy who has like this Guy Fieri shirt on that shoots fire at you.
He does,
and he shoots this fire on the floor that lasts a long time. And my issue was those effects lasted a really long time, so you would kill a Karen, and then you would just have to stand around and wait for like 5 minutes for the gas to disperse.
I always thought, like, if it's a feared enemy, like, shouldn't the
I would say immediately
disappear.
But I read the most recent patch notes, and apparently they've massively reduced the time it takes for it to disappear.
Okay.
So I haven't tested it, but it seems like a lot of the issues I had with the game have been fixed, which is really nice to see, because there's been a bunch of like little patches as the game's been out.
Second playthrough?
Oh, there it is. Where there is like, in like Resident Evil games, when you get to the end of a Resident Evil game, they give you like an OP weapon. Like they give you like a big machine gun that just has unlimited ammo and like one-shots all the enemies. Towards the end of Fashion Police Squad, one of the weapons you get is a wardrobe cannon, which is essentially like an RPG that fixes every fashion crime.
Oh, right.
And the way it's balanced is you have like you have very limited ammo for it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Once you complete Fashion Police Squad, one of the things you unlock is you can go back and play any level with the wardrobe launcher with unlimited ammo as like a reward for finishing the game, which I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Did you get all the secrets or not? Or did you just like wherever you found
I completed all the levels and I did all the challenges. But I didn't go back and 100% all the levels. I was like,
okay.
I didn't feel like I needed to do that.
That's probably if they gave you something, if you found all the secrets.
Yeah, it might be worth going back and doing that. Maybe I'll check it out. Like, if they add like a new map or they add like custom level support. I think custom levels would be really cool for this.
Yeah,
I'd love to see what other people could do with this.
Yeah, because the core mechanics of the game is, like, I feel really solid as well. Like, as well as it being funny.
Well,
I feel like it's
one of the
solid.
core mechanics that I do want to slightly talk about is, and I said in my Tangerine video, I like the belt swinging platforming stuff, but it's a bit off. It doesn't feel great. And I would say the platforming is still not at a point I would like it to be at. It's a bit clunky. It's a bit off. And sometimes one of my complaints was...
Is it the momentum that's off?
Yeah, the momentum's off. The timing can be off. Well, like when you think you should get off it, it's actually a different time to when you think you should get off it to keep your momentum for where you want to go, sort of thing. And sometimes you'll like use your belt to whip onto these like holes to swing off them, and it just won't register or stuff like that, which is kind of annoying. What a lot of games do is like if you're close enough, it will just attach to it, sort of thing, which is a nice feature to have. Like it makes it. I love all the fake advertising in this game as well. The attention to detail is great. If you want to know more about Fashion Police Squad, like Oh, these guys are great. The German tourist who keeps trying to take
Socks
photos
with
of you.
sandals?
Yeah, so the way you counter socks with sandals is you get basically, well, I'd say it's probably the weakest gun in the game. Like mechanically, it's not very fun. It's essentially a grenade. So what happens is you have a sock gnome and you throw it at them, and it runs and steals their socks.
Yeah, it's a funny guy, but yeah, I feel like this isn't the most
No, because
interesting.
essentially what you do is you just throw it and then you wait for it to steal his socks. It's not very like interesting.
It's not like an explosion.
It's not very fun to use, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think the water gun they added essentially like a hydro cannon, which doubles up as a movement ability because there is fire enemies, which you counter by shooting with water, like a water cannon. But then you shoot the water cannon in front of you, and it's like a movement device, so you run faster when you shoot this water cannon in front of you, which is very cool. But because then you need that to get enough momentum to go across platforming. But then again, the water cannon is not 100% there when it comes to platforming. It can be kind of frustrating.
Right.
But
I don't know. From what I was looking at, it didn't seem very obvious where the water was when you did that as well. I don't know if that's not a problem actually in the game.
Yeah, the thing is, like, when you're shooting the water cannon, you want to shoot in front of you, so you're looking down, but then you're also trying to jump across platforms, which you can't see because you're looking down. I don't know. It could just
because like when I was watching you play, you said like, "Oh, can you like water jump?" And I was like, "That'd be kind of cool."
When I got the gun, I was like, "Holy shit! Please be the Mario Sunshine gun where you shoot water at the floor and it makes you jump like a rocket launcher almost." I thought that would be really cool.
I feel like maybe I don't know. I'm hoping they like keep adding stuff to this game in a way. Like I just think.
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff so these are the secrets. You find like fashion crimes that you committed in the past. Those are like the secrets. So the gas and the fire not going away quick enough has been fixed in the patch notes. They did change how like some of the platforming works with like the water gun and stuff like that. I read, which is cool to see. Some of the later levels, they were really tough and were like really small arenas, and they were like really hard to do. I've read the patch notes. They've actually fixed those up, which is one of my big complaints. Was the later levels were like really cramped and tough.
Nice.
And they didn't feel fair, which is nice to see. And anything else? There was something I wanted to say just generally. Oh, one thing I want to say generally is you have this platforming ability to like jump around on these swings, but a lot of the time the arenas are too small to jump around on them and too cramped.
Right.
I really would have loved to see more like big arenas.
Yeah, more design like, the combat encounter.
Yeah, more like think more like Doom Eternal arenas where you're just like constantly sprint, like dashing around and stuff like that. That would have been really cool to see. Which is why I say like I would love to see custom maps for this, because I think if you made custom map designer for this and gave it to the community, people could make really cool like big open arenas where you could have like these big fights. I'll see if there's any other enemies that get introduced or is any.
Don't know if clips of my favorite enemy.
Oh, the guy exposes himself.
Yeah.
There's these zoomers that run around dropping bombs. He's like, "Hey, check out my CV."
Hey, look at this. Look at my CV. I love how the CV explodes.
Yeah, they have ill-fitting suits, so because they're too short, so you have to shoot these needle grenades at them to trap them in cloth, and then you can like nail a new suit onto them that fits better. I think
that's interesting.
I don't know if I have footage, but one of Tony's favorite enemies is basically one of those like guys in a trench coat exposes himself publicly.
I would also mention the we get introduced to it. It's like you're on a train, like you're on the metro, like you're going through this train level, and then suddenly it's like going into this really big posh area. Like, what the fuck's going on? And then this guy just comes out of a door and is like, "Oh, I got something to show you.
I've got a surprise for you." And he walks over, and the way he functions in the game is he essentially every time he opens his trench coat, he has a different fashion crime which you have to dynamically solve. Which I was like, oh, that's interesting. There's also like a DJ character that is essentially like the Archvale in Doom, where it's essentially like a priority target where if you don't kill it, it will keep like buffing up the other enemies, sort of thing.
Oh right, that's crazy. Okay.
Like,
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, essentially the best way to deal with it is, I don't know if this is intentional, but you can stun it by throwing a sock gnome at it, which doesn't seem intentional, but that was the best way to deal with it. Because it starts charging up a song, and then you can get it to stop playing the song by throwing a sock gnome at it. It seems like the only other useful thing for the sock gnome. But yeah, Fashion Police Squad it's not that expensive, and it's really fun. I would highly recommend it if you're a fan of like retro shooters, especially with like how silly and fun it is. I just love this game.
I love the comedy and like just the concepts and like I like how the okay, I want to speak about this slightly. You know, like a lot of comedy stuff, like the characters like are just like making jokes for the fun of it. I like how the characters are making jokes, but like they're not in on it. Like they take the world seriously, and that just makes it funnier to me.
I mean, I've been talking too long about boomer shooters. We're almost at the hour and a half mark. I got to end this
we are
soon. So we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.